Good morning and welcome to the Savage Chamber of Commerce Meet the Candidate Forum with Pam Myhra. I am Heather Prosky. I am the president of the Savage Chamber of Commerce. I'd like to extend a welcome and a thank you for being here to Pam. Pam is running for a seat as the Minnesota representative in District 56A, which is Savage and Burnsville. Pam, good morning and welcome. Thank you so much for being here this morning. We appreciate it. How is everything going on the campaign trail?
It's going really well. I'm enjoying my time, and it's been wonderful meeting people in the community, and it's been good. Thank you for having me on.
Absolutely. Yeah, no, you have definitely been out and about. We've been seeing lots of your signs and seeing, personally in my house, lots of flyers stuck in my door. So I know you're out and about. Pam, yes. Will you give me a brief introduction about yourself, history of your past political experiences, accomplishments, both elected and volunteer? Tell me what you're doing out in the community to get your name out there.
Sure. Thank you so much for this opportunity. I am a longtime resident of Burnsville. My family moved here when I was a teenager, and so I graduated from Burnsville High School in 1975. My husband and I returned to have this be our permanent home in 1986. I'm a certified public accountant, former audit manager at KPMG at the International Public Accounting Firm. I served in the legislature for 4 years, 2 terms, from 2011 through 2014. I just chose not to run again. I didn't run again in 2014. I was looking for other things to do. While I served in the legislature, I chief authored 4 bills that were unanimously passed in the House and signed into law by the governor. And so I've experienced bringing people together, getting them to agree on important issues. One of the issues was on digital learning. 2 of them were on government transparency. One actually was very difficult to pass. Advocates of transparency have worked on that for 17 years, and under my leadership, we were able to accomplish it. And the 4th bill, that was a slam dunk. It was on CPA licensure issues. And since I was the only CPA in the House, everybody said, whatever you want, Pam, we're good. So I also am a certified public accountant. I worked at KPMG. It's an international public accounting firm. In the last number of years, I have served as the membership chair, first vice chair, and the president of the Minnesota Federation of Republican Women. During my service in the House, I received the really exclusive honor of the Elected Women of Excellence Award from the nonpartisan National Federation of Elected Women, Legislative Women. And also in 2019, I received the Tribute to Women Award from the Minnesota Federation of Republican Women. Previous to my political career this last decade, I served as a director of a girls club in South Minneapolis for many years, and in the city of Savage, I think it was about a total of 14 or 15 years, and also was a teacher for a parenting class. And for a number of years, I was the president of our church's women's ministries. My husband and I have lived in Burnsville since '86, and we raised our 3 children here. And he and I have been married for 39 years.
Oh, that's wonderful.
To share about my background.
Oh, that's great. Just great. So what made you decide to come back and run again after your time off? I mean, that's got to be a big decision, especially because you are working professionally and, with doing what you're doing. I mean, that's a huge decision.
It is a huge decision. And I don't know how many people realize I ran for Minnesota State Auditor in 2018.
Oh.
I was asked to run, and it seemed like a perfect fit because my background is as an audit manager. Auditing is my passion. So I ran for state auditor. I had got the consolation prize. I earned over 1,095,000 votes, but I did lose that race. And that fall, that December, I closed my campaign account for Minnesota, for the Minnesota House. I had left it open just in case I should change my mind. But I closed my account, and after a number of months, my husband said, well, Pam, why didn't you consider running for state representative again? We really need you. And I said, oh, I don't think so, dear. But then last summer, there were it started in July, of different people coming and asking me, Pam, will you please consider running for the Minnesota House of Representatives again? And then I think it was in August, mid-August, they actually had a petition on Facebook. And I think it was about 800 people signed that petition asking me to run again and represent them. And so I made the decision to go ahead and do that. And so I've been working on that, meeting constituents, raising funds, and working really hard. It's hard being a candidate, but I actually love it, particularly that contact with people. So what really got me to come back into this was the response from the community, from the Republican leaders in the area asking me to run again and that they would support my candidacy.
That's great. Wow. And it shows the power of people. And
Yeah.
when you want your voice heard and you want something to happen for a reason, they obviously made their voice heard loud enough with you, and look at you, now you're here. That's great. Wow, super cool. Well, Pam, I'm just gonna ask a couple of questions. We're gonna keep this really conversational, really light, but would definitely love to hear kind of where you're coming from. What have you done in the past to influence the way government operates today? I know you mentioned some of the bills that you got passed, but like, what else can you put out there for us to know about you?
Well, it all started, I think I went to my very first precinct caucus when I was in my mid 30s. My children were just about to go into kindergarten, I have twins, and I was really interested in the whole issue of education. And so my husband and I went to our first precinct caucuses, and my activism and interest in politics really started then, writing letters concerned about education and our families and taxes, those kind of things. And then after a while, I learned about the political process of writing resolutions for our party and being involved as an individual who can make the decision, help make the decision who runs for those offices. And so my husband and I became delegates in our local area here and activists. And I think it was in 2009, my youngest graduated from high school, and I thought, well, what should I do with my life? And a number of people encouraged me, and I really wanted to run for public office. It was a totally long shot. I probably had close to zero name recognition, but I was really passionate, and I door knocked my heart out. That first year, which was a little bit different than this area that my house district is, but it was a bit further east. And I door knocked personally 12,000 homes, getting to know people. And it was so empowering. I loved it because as you're at the door, when I door knock, people share with me their concerns. I have had numerous times where people actually cry. You know, they really reveal their heart and share what they're concerned about. And as you have that opportunity to meet people in the community, talk to them and listen to them, it really empowers you as you go to the legislature. And so my first term was in 2011, and I was very fortunate to be put on some really great committees. I was a member of taxes, which is a finance committee. I was also a member of education finance because that's such a passion. I mean, starting back in '94 and all through those years when my children were in high school and in school. And then I was also on the bonding committee, capital investment. And not only that, it's just very unheard of for a freshman to serve on 3 finance committees. I was also on education policy. And it had empowered me when I went to the legislature, having listened to so many people from my district about their concerns. And the concerns have changed a little bit over the last decade. Now the concerns, as I'm talking to individuals, people are very concerned about recovering from COVID-19 and the shutdown and getting the economy back on its feet. People are also very concerned about the issue of public safety. And they are very concerned about this movement or discussion of defunding and disbanding the police, law enforcement, and law and order. And so I am very much supporting law and order in our community. I want our community to be safe and people to feel safe in our community. And third, the other issue that keeps coming up at the door is our taxes. And I know we are in a situation where we're facing a deficit going forward, and we will need to address that. But the community, our Minnesota and our business community really have had such a burden. And so state government is going to need to share some of that burden going forward. But of course, the biggest thing will be getting back on our feet and our economy safely reopened.
Thank you, Pam. Yeah, and thank you for being that numbers person too, because it takes a special breed of person to love numbers the way you clearly do.
Yeah.
You briefly touched on it when you were just speaking here, so I'll ask the question right away. How should the state of Minnesota balance the concerns between public health and the economy, and what role should the legislator have in this process? I mean, you're probably, like you just mentioned, seeing and hearing from so many people that have been affected by COVID. The disease itself, or as some of the businesses here in Savage and Burnsville, financially having to close down because of the regulations that have been set by the governor. What is the balance? How are you going to help with that balance and when you get elected?
Well, I think what's super important is that we get back to the way our Constitution was set. We have three branches of government. We have the executive branch, which is the governor, that either vetoes or signs legislation. But it's the legislature, the representatives of our districts, the Senate and the House, who are responsible for preparing laws, preparing bills, and then presenting those to the government. Of course, the third branch is the judicial. But it is really important that we get out of this state of emergency. The governor has had executive emergency powers, peacetime powers, for over 200 days. That's a long time to have emergency powers. And for him to unilaterally making all these decisions, it needs to go back to the way our Constitution was set, where the legislative branch, through the input of public hearings, our committee hearing process, and really working through those bills. And that is the first thing that needs to really happen, is we need to go back to how the legislature is designed to work with the legislature preparing bills and then presenting it to the governor. The governor doesn't agree at that point. He vetoes it and sends a letter back to the legislature saying what his issues are with that. But we have those three branches to keep it balanced. And the legislature is in a very unique position because we have what are called these committee hearings. And it's so interesting. I just want to encourage people to be involved. I have seen where the parties have, Republicans never had to work on a bill or whatever. And we're all, lobbyists are telling us the impact of what a particular bill would be. But then we have somebody from the community come and say, from the heart, this is how it's going to affect me. This is how it's going to affect my business. This is how it's going to affect my children. And I don't like this part of the bill. I have seen a number of times where the people from the community bring information like that. They have a right to be heard at these committee hearings. And they have good ideas. And they bring a fresh perspective that sometimes maybe something we just didn't think of. And I have seen where people from the community come to committee hearings, share ideas, the bills get pulled back, they get modified, we propose amendments and improve on it. And so I would encourage the people from the community that it's very worthwhile that if you are having a concern about something that's going on at the legislature, come over, talk to us, talk to your representative. I hope you'll have the opportunity to talk to me. I will have an open door. And in the past, have always, if you send me a personal email, I personally respond back to you. I hold my job as very important to get that input from you. And so I would encourage you um, that you can have a huge impact. And there's one particular bill I recall, it went through education policy. And there was just one woman, there was one mom. She came, she sat at the table. None of us knew about her, and she shared her heart. And that bill was pulled, really modified, and then presented again. And then finally it went through and it was signed. But so I want to encourage people from the community, whether you are in business or your focus is on your children, whatever it is, if there are issues that are concerning you, come. And sometimes there's a lot of people come. I've been at the legislature where there have been lines around in the inner halls of people that are very concerned about a particular issue. So
Wow.
be encouraged and come and be involved. But I think as a legislator listens to the public, it really does empower us. As I have been in the community, um, I have been going to everybody's houses. I mean, lots of people's houses. I haven't been exclusively going to Republicans. I've been to many homes of people that are identified as Democrats and swing voters and independents. And I have never heard very much concern about the sickness as much as I've heard about concern about isolation, about um, children being depressed, the isolation, getting behind in school, businesses being the capacity get down to 50%, or they're barely hanging on by a thread. And those are really concerns of mine. And so earlier I stated that um, one of my top concerns and focus at Capitol will be the recovery of the economy and families. And second will be that safety and security in our community. And third will be holding down taxes. And when I say holding on taxes, not only holding on taxes, I really think that Minnesota should stop being one of the states in this country where there's very few that taxes Social Security benefits. So I hope we can get that done as well.
Absolutely. No, that sounds great. So if we were just talking about the taxes and budget and all of that, according to the state budget office, Minnesota is facing a projected budget shortfall of 2.4 billion for the biennium ending on July 2021. How do you propose that? I mean, that's a huge number. How are we going to address that? How are we going to look at that moving forward into 2021? I mean, it's kind of frightening to add that statistic onto, like you just said, all the other things that we're dealing with in the state.
Right. Well, I think sometimes people don't understand what the deficit means. They think that that means that right today we're in the hole by that amount. It doesn't. What it means is that if all the legislation that's been previously passed continues status quo, no changes to it, at the end of the day, we will be in the hole by that amount. And so what we need to do is go back and look at the budget that we've had so far and make reasonable adjustments. I think that we can also, this auditing background in me, I think we really need to look at where there's waste and ineffective use of government spending. Over the last decade, our state budget has increased by over 45%. That's a lot. I dare say I know my budget hasn't, the family budget hasn't increased by that amount in this last decade. I would guess that a lot of families haven't. Um, and I think that we need to look and say, okay, how can government share in the burden? Families in Minnesota and businesses have already held and had a significant amount of burden so far. And so we One of the things that what was proposed in 2019 was a tax increase of $12 billion over the next 4 years. That's a lot of money. And some of it was very aggressive on gas tax. That goes right down to people that have the least amount of money putting gas in their cars. It also included a sick tax, a healthcare tax, which actually makes our healthcare costs more expensive. And then also there was an added payroll tax to pay for maternity leave, family leave, and sick leave. And so I really want to stand with my constituents of the area. I know that they have really suffered a lot already, and what I will be looking at is seeing how we can modify our spending at the state level, look for inefficiencies, look for waste. When I was in the legislature in 2011, we had, as Republicans, set up what was called the Sunset Commission. There are oftentimes bills and programs that are set and with a particular mission. Maybe they're very good, but they aren't ever sunset. They just keep going on in perpetuity. And what we need to do, and that unfortunately, when we lost the majority in 2013, that was reversed. And so we don't have that commission. I think it would be really worthwhile to take a serious look at the different programs and see which ones are working. Those that are working, we need to keep, and actually we need to strengthen and improve. Those that are ineffective, we should sunset. And so I think that was a really good idea. Sometimes people will say, well, will you go into the legislature and decrease all the different budget amounts by a certain percentage? And I want to be really honest, that's a coward's way out. I don't think we should ever do that. What we need to do is look at where there's efficiency, and where there's efficiency and we're meeting our goals, we actually need to put more money to it and make it better. And where it isn't working, we need to cut that out or reduce the spending on that. So we need to make those hard decisions, and a sunset commission could help with that.
It's a great idea. It's a great idea. So one last question. I lied. I'm going to ask one more. So this is number 4, but then we'll wrap up. If you could write and sign 3 laws to pass today, what would they be and why? What are your passion projects that if you could get passed today and make into law, what would they be?
Well, I'm just going to give you one. I do have those other priorities, and I think that the state is in a really serious condition. I mean, we really need to recover from COVID and the shutdown. But one of my very big passions, I already mentioned it, was to eliminate the tax on Social Security benefits. It's just a heartbreak when I hear of so many retirees leaving the state because leaving their families, leaving their long-time homes, because Minnesota is not a very friendly place for retirees by taxing our Social Security. There's very few states in the country that tax Social Security benefits. I think that should be a really tough one. But I will also be working very hard to, I guess I could throw another one too. I really think that it's really important for our healthcare costs that we have complete price transparency. I think that is so important because it puts the power in the hands of the consumer, in the hands of the patient. I'm just giving you a really quick little story here. I went on a day trip and I forgot my medicine, and I asked my son to take a picture of it. I didn't want to go home, and he took a picture of it. And I went to the closest drugstore and I showed him the picture, and I said, this is what I want. And it was so serendipitous. I looked over the counter, I could see it there. It was on the shelf. And I said, that's what I want. And he showed it to me and he said, this is what you want. I said, yeah, it is. And I went out to the car after I had purchased it. It takes me 15 minutes or whatever to do all the paperwork. And I opened up the bag, and it wasn't what I had asked for. It wasn't a product that I showed the man what I had wanted. It wasn't the brand, and it wasn't. Anyway, I went back inside and I said, I really want the brand. That one that you showed me, that's the one I want. And he pulled it off the shelf and he said, okay. And he reversed my transaction and he had charged me for a product that I didn't want and it was 35% more. I want price transparency. I want people to be able to know what they're getting and be able to say, that's the brand I want, that's the price I want. And if one store sells it for one price and another sells it for a different price, we should know as consumers. And that goes for our hospitals and our doctors as well. And we should have that information so we can make the very best decisions. So those are my top ones.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you for that story. That's couldn't be truer today. So thank you for that. Well, Pam, I'm going to give you some time to wrap up. Tell us why we should vote for you. Tell the people listening and viewing how they can get in touch with you to ask you those important questions that they have pressing. And just give us an all-around go out, get out and vote message.
Well, thank you so much, Heather. I really appreciate being here and being able to share with you and your members. It has been a delight to talk. My website is pamforhouse.com. That's pamforhouse.com. You can contact me through there. And I just wanted to mention to you that on my website also, I list my endorsements, but I'm endorsed by the Minnesota Chamber of Commerce. I'm endorsed by the National Federation of Independent Businesses, the Minnesota Police and Peace Officers Association, over 12,000 members strong of police officers, retired and current. And also I'm endorsed by the Republican Party of Minnesota. That was unanimously done back in April, and I came through the primary with 92%. And so I will be on your ballot. I'm actually on your ballot right now. And so you can vote in person or by absentee ballot or on Tuesday, November 3rd. I would greatly appreciate your vote. I am a certified public accountant with an active license, a former audit manager at KPMG. It's an international public accounting firm. I served in the legislature before. It isn't about power, it's about policy and people. So I was able to step away from that and say, I want to do something else back in 2014. And I also have served in many volunteer positions. I have an open door. And so if you have concerns, I want you to contact me. I really do. And if I'm fortunate enough to be elected, I would like to invite you to contact my legislative assistant and make an appointment. I will have those available to see you. And then I will also publish in the newspaper times where I will be in the community for at a coffee shop where you can just stop by and visit me rather than having you go all the way to St. Paul to talk. So I would greatly appreciate your vote. I would be honored to serve you in the Minnesota legislature. Thank you so much. Again, that website is pamforhouse.com. Thanks so much, Heather. And members, appreciate your time.
Absolutely. Thank you. And I'll just put my little plug in here. On-site voting is open here at the Savage City Hall right now up until November 3rd, and then multiple polling places day of the election. And you can still register to vote. It's online. Fill out your application. That will be open, I think, right up until election day. So there's definitely time to get in and vote, but we really appreciate you, Pam, for all that you have done for the state previously, and wish you all the success in the world moving forward into November 3rd. What is it, 22 days away, something like that? Craziness. Yeah, we're on the precipice here. So thank you. Good luck to you. Be safe and be well, and we'll see you on the campaign trail.
Thank you so much, Heather.
Thanks, Pam. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.